Culture as a socially constructed shared meaning. Let's just repeat. Okay, let's just have a read of the definition together and quickly finish it, since all sorts of elements we have already mentioned in the previous discussion, previous lecture. Culture is often understood as a shared system of meaning. Key word is shared, a shared system of meaning, values, symbols, practices. Very familiar, right? What humans think, what humans feel and thought and act. Meanings, values, symbols, practices that people within a particular society or group use to make sense of the world, to navigate their social lives. We are repeating what has been talked about in the previous session, where we say culture is socially constructed. The key word is socially constructed. Keep that in mind. This is the technological part when we talk about the subject of culture or mass communication. Socially constructed. We mean that culture is not a fixed, inherent, or biological trait, but rather it is created, sustained through human interaction, communication, and collective agreement. Culture is social. Culture is not inborn. We are not born with culture, but we acquire culture. We learn culture as we grow up. Basically, this is saying that. The key concepts in culture as a socially constructed phenomenon, social constructivism. You will encounter this idea, this concept concerning sociology, the study of society, very often. And of course, it's unavoidable, inevitable when we talk about the phenomena and the concept of culture. Social constructivism is the theory that argues that much of what we understand to be real is actually constructed through social processes and interactions. Meaning is created in this process, negotiated or maintained through language, communication, media, shared practices. In other words, we are repeating ourselves. Social constructivism is the idea, is the philosophy that culture, our meaning cannot happen without this general background of human interaction, without the society at large. Okay, example being concept like gender and race are socially constructed. These categories are not inherent biological facts, but are created and upheld through social norms, cultural practices, and communication. Gender, I won't talk about gender. This is a highly controversial subject, even in the West, even in the US and in Europe. Social political trend of conservatism is surging as we speak in America and some parts of European continents. Is gender born phenomenon or is a culturally acquired phenomenon? It depends on how you define gender. At least we know gender initially has to do with sexes. At least from the starting point, go back to the origin, it has to be based on the natural sexes, right? Basis in the idea of the two natural sexes. Not only human has two sexes, male, female, but also, more generally speaking, most of the living species has a feminine and a masculine sex. Human society, human culture is a highly complicated one. We can not only focus on the so-called physical or natural side of our trait, of our characteristic. The so-called idea of gender or concept of gender is always applied against the general background of culture. How we feel about the two sexes, how we think about the two sexes, how we define the two sexes. These are all humanly constructed ideas and concepts. Once it's humanly constructed and humanly defined and humanly inactivated concepts, then There are parts that can be reasonable and unreasonable. For the unreasonable part, it can be to the extent of even coerciveness. As a man, culturally defined man, you have to do this and that and that and this. You can't do this and that and that and this. But different cultures may have rather different role assignment for the sexes, the two natural sexes. Should the man cook or not cook in the setting of a family?
He knows how to.
If he knows how to.
And
He has the time. Does a woman has to do cooking as a part of her household duty? You see, we are as if we are trying to have a negotiation. We're bargaining. If you can do this, you do this. If I can't do this, you fill in my role. Okay, we can discuss. We can carry on, talk about this for the whole situation to be fair. Totally human adults, fully grown-ups. We have to talk to each other and act toward each other on roughly equal terms. Okay? Treat each other with respect. See, these are all very modern ideas, very progressive ideas, I would also say. In more conservative settings, women, you are the mother, you are the carer of the welfare of a family. In the old times, she may be obligated to do this, to do all the household chores, to do all the cookings and washings, and taking the children to see the doctor, and so on and so forth. Okay? Only very recently, negotiation could be possible. Think about it. 100 years ago, not many women were in schools 100 years ago. Even today, in some countries, women are not allowed to go to school. This gender thing is always humanly created idea, humanly defined, sometimes irrationally, unreasonably, coercively defined ideas. And race, of course, what do you think? What do you think? Is race a good idea or just a humanly constructed, sometimes reasonable, sometimes, a lot of times not reasonable idea? Do you think race is that sort of cultural phenomena? What is your race, for example? Black. You define your race based on the skin of your color. What is my race? Chinese. So I define my race based on, and if you think about it, it's not about origin either. I originated in a small corner of the country, located on the eastern end of the European Asian continent. I'm Chinese. I'm defining my race based on the idea of culture and language, perhaps. Chinese as a distinct culture and language. This idea of race is also tyrannically defined, coercively defined idea. Can you be a Chinese? Can I be an African?
You need to be a little more specific. If you say, can you be an African via acquiring citizenshp, then that's possible. But if you're asking if you can be an African by, how do I put it now, by race, then it can't be possible. Because you're already born a Chinese. You can't.
大家听到没有？ Everybody else, do you hear them? Do you hear them? Race is still a culturally defined idea, right? I can't be because I cannot change my color. If you define race as based upon the idea of skin color, so I can't be African. 那中国的同学 Chinese students, can they be Chinese? Can our beloved international students, can they be Chinese? Again, we can say the similar thing. If you want to acquire the citizenship, yes, it's possible. But I'm not talking about citizenship. These are political arrangements, although they are part of the cultural system, generally speaking. Can they be Chinese in terms of culture, in terms of all these race thing, racial idea? Can they be Chinese? I'm asking the Chinese students. 你们觉得我们几位非洲的同学，他们能不能是中国人，或者做中国人当中国人，可以吗？根据我们的 according to Chinese concept, Chinese idea of race. Can they be Chinese? 他们可以做中国人。如果说我们排除掉不说那些加入国籍啊什么什么这些个条件之类的，不说这些个，就是心理上或者文化上，我们把它当做我们的同胞，有没有这种可能？还是这个问题，就是 definition of race, definition of the same race。中国人有没有这种胸怀，就是说不以肤色定种族，不以肤色来定内外，有没有这种传统？
但是他们跟真正的中国人肯定不来。
那问题就来了，那好了，你告诉我，那些个在，比方说东北的朝鲜族人，从表面上你根本看不出来，衣着、语言上完全没法区分，而仅仅是比方说肤色上有区分，那么这个地方是不是肤色就是定义种族的关节点呢？
虽然以前不是，但是现在的话，它可能
完全有这种可能，完全有这种可能。所以说，我们对种族这种文化定义的概念的话，还得要放宽了看。自古以来，中国人可不见得非得是黄皮肤、这个矮鼻梁的农民种族，不是这个样子的。自古以来，中国的话就是囊括四海的。昆仑奴听说过吗？唐传奇当中就写过昆仑奴。昆仑奴是什么？那个时候就有黑人。历史上知名的人物孙权、孙仲谋怎么说？曹操怎么评价他？曹操评价孙权是什么？生子当如闭眼儿，闭眼儿，蓝眼睛的小孩子，蓝眼睛的娃娃，蓝眼睛是哪儿啊？蓝眼睛是在北欧，在西欧大陆上，日耳曼人。那你等到这个开放的朝代唐 Dynasty 的时候，那就处处统治者都是外国异族，好吧？突厥，唐这个李家的天下，李家人的话跟突厥非常近的血缘关系。有一句话叫什么话？你们上网查一下，百度一下。这个夷狄入中国，则中国之。你上网查一下，我这个话说的不太准了，百度一下。夷狄入中国，则中国之。或者夷狄入华夏，则华夏之。所以我们的定义，我们的这个传统可从来就比这个在种族定义上依靠肤色定义种族可要来的更加的宽泛。至少我不说高低，不说上下，至少我们的定义历史上来看的话更加的宽泛。叫什么？夷狄入中国则什么？或者夷狄入中原，则中原之，中国之。这个说法是谁说的？春秋谁说的？大概是孔门人说的，对吧？怎么说的原话？后半句是什么？
夷而进于中国则中国之。
就是夷狄，所谓的就是这个边境的这些个其他的民族，对吧？他们入中国，什么叫入中国？不是说你这个来到中国的意思，不简单，或者不只是来到中国的意思，是采纳了中国的中原的习俗、语言、文化的意思。你采用了它了，认这个了，那你就是中国人或者中原人。老祖宗那儿定义种族的这个关系、文化的关系，就有非常开明的见解了。Shared meaning, of course, this is yet another very important component or feature when we talk about culture. Shared meaning. Meaning has to be shared in order for culture to be viable. Okay? Culture involves symbols, gestures, words, rituals that carry specific meaning within a particular group. These meanings are agreed upon by members of group and they shape social behavior. Again, a behavior, an act, a thought, a sentence cannot be culture, cannot be cultural. Okay? It can be whimsical, it can happen only once, depending on specific time and location revenue. In order for culture to be viable, such patterns of thought and ideas and feelings and attitude has to be agreed upon, has to be repeated, has to be able to shape group behavior. Again, the example provided here is the national flag or national anthem. Nowadays, national flag is a symbol of patriotism, culture and communication. Communication, when we throw in the element of communication or Mass communication, the primary way, it refers to the primary way that meaning can be constructed and shared. Constructed and shared. Primary way. Through language, media, rituals, everyday interactions, individuals construct, maintain cultural norms, so on and so forth. This is repetition, repetition, repetition. Social interactionism, this idea, this theory suggests that people create meaning through social interaction and symbols. Symbol, symbol, symbol. Symbol is an indispensable part, the indispensable concept when we talk about either culture or communication. Symbols, semantics, meaning of language, we might as well call them by these terms. Culture is not static. It involves as people interpret and negotiate meaning in their daily life. Remember, it's an ongoing process. The evolution of species might be very, very in slow motion. We cannot detect, we cannot discover the emotion of ourselves, of our physical existence as an animal species. Although evolution is happening as we speak, but we cannot simply detect them. We are not aware of them. They are happening molecular level, chemophysical level, which is totally beyond our range of detection. But speaking of culture, speaking of the language we use and the feelings we feel and the thoughts we think, it can happen on the basis of days, months, and years, even on the basis of minutes. And so it's not static. And more importantly, it involves us people interpret and negotiate meaning. Remember, according to different groups, the different sentiment, different experience of a fixed group in the process of history, culture evolves. Okay, so today, if we're seeing a same phenomenon, a cultural phenomenon, we must not have necessarily the same idea concerning the same, let's say, cultural phenomena. And even for the same group of people, same cultural group, we may share totally different ideas concerning a specific cultural historical phenomenon. Take a look at this video I just found and tell me what you think. 你知道我的第一反应是什么吗？就像刚才他们问那个问题 ，Is this Chinese? Is this Chinese culture? 我的第一反应的话，这哪是中国人？这个看不出来，不像中国人。It's not Chinese culture. Originally, I was shocked. I was stunned. In my opinion, Chinese people has to be cultured and obedient and gentle and polite, okay? And taking a look at these young people fighting amongst each other, being crazily violent toward each other. Wow, this is foreign culture. This is not Chinese culture, essentially. 你们不知道有没有这种感觉？
How come old people or middle-aged people don't participate in the culture in the festival?
In the what festival? Sorry.
The video you just saw in like middle-aged person in the festival. So is the festival just meant for the young?
Not meant for the young people. It's the festival, the ceremony is meant for the whole village, the whole tribe, or the whole clan. The people taking part as the guardian of those statues, they have to be young people. Old people cannot. Even if they want to participate in such activity, they're not allowed because it's dangerous. It can be deadly. The older people have their own roles, such as initiating the ceremony, declaring the opening of the ceremony, so forth. They have more ritual roles to play rather than the physical roles to play. Every Chinese New Year, during the Chinese New Year, is practiced in southern parts of China. 所以我的第一感觉是，这个异域文化简直不是异域文化了，简直像异国文化一样，就明显感觉就不像中国人应有的行为举止，好吧，温文尔雅，中原地区的人民那样，是吧？温驯、谦良、恭俭让等等等等，就完全颠覆我对中国人的认知，就根本不觉得这是中国人应该做的事儿。我们还是得有这种 cultural 文化的眼光来看待这些事儿。